In Palestine, the number of victims of the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip has risen to 35,857 since October 7th. Venezuela and Turkey signed agreements to strengthen their bilateral relations. And Russian President Vladimir Putin said he doesn't refuse to negotiate a peace agreement with Ukraine, but he would only do it with a legitimate government. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the health ministry reported that the number of victims of the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip has risen to 35,857 since October 7, 2023. The organization stated that at least 80,293 people were injured in the military attacks by Tel Aviv. In addition, they specified that in the last day, the bodies of 57 people who died as a result of the actions of the Israeli army were transferred to the hospitals in Gaza. In this sense, demonstrators from several countries have spoken out to demand an end to the genocide perpetrated against Palestine and absolute respect for its sovereign rights. Judges at the top United Nations Court ordered Israel to halt its offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The order was announced on Friday at a hearing regarding the case brought by South Africa accusing Israel of genocide. The United Nations top court alleged immense risk to the Palestinian population to back its decision. This comes after South Africa requested extra provisional measures at a hearing held last week, which concerned in particular the critical situation faced by Palestinians in Rafah, the southernmost city in Gaza, where 1.4 million Palestinians had taken refuge and is now being targeted by the Israeli army. In response to this, Judge Nawaf Salam indicated Israel should halt their actions immediately.
The court considered that, in conformity with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
The Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations hails the International Court of Justice order for Israel to halt military operations in Rafah.
The provisional measures adopted by the ICJ, we are grateful for South Africa and those who supported them for going back to the ICJ, asking them for additional provisional measures. And we welcome these provisional measures, including stopping, the military operation in Rafah. We believe that the provisional measures of the ICJ also previously asked for stopping all military operations in the Gaza Strip and stopping these crimes and potential crimes of genocide against our people in the Gaza Strip.
Venezuela congratulated the government of South Africa for its actions to stop the Israeli genocide against the Palestinian people. Through an official communique on X, the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry said that the Israeli genocide could not have been carried out without the complicity of the United States and the European Union, and accused them for paralyzing the United Nations system, especially its Security Council, for more than 7 months of continuous crimes. In another part of the document, the ministry reiterated the Venezuelan government's commitment to the Bolivarian diplomacy of peace, which guides its foreign policy, and its recognition of the courageous and firm position of South Africa in defense of the Palestinian people and international law. The text also sentenced that, like millions of people around the world, the Bolivarian Republic will continue to raise its voice in all international arenas to demand the cessation of genocide, and that those responsible for such barbarism be tried and punished in accordance with the principles of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. In other topics, in Brazil, heavy rains returned to the state of Rio Grande do Sul, causing widespread flooding and a total of 163 deaths. The Brazilian government reported on Thursday that the death toll in Rio Grande do Sul has risen to 163 following the rains and floods that have affected 468 municipalities. The latest bulletin issued by the Civil Defense said that 72 people are missing and 806 have been injured. According to local media statements, to date, Rio Grande do Sul has 581,643 people affected by the floods caused by the biggest climatic crisis in the state. 2,342,460 people have been affected, while 65,762 are in shelters. In Papua New Guinea, a landslide hit the Kaukalam village, bringing about at least 100 deaths. The incident occurred at around 3 a.m. local time on Friday in the Enga province, some 600 kilometers northwest of the Papuan capital Port Moresby. The government has not issued an official death toll yet, but locals and the media fear it could be over 100. According to testimonies, the landslide shattered village houses into pieces, blocking a road. The Prime Minister James Marape offered his condolences and announced sending rescue teams to the site. Several studies reveal that the size of fishes in the oceans has been decreasing in the last few years. Let's see more details.
This is a phenomenon that has been ongoing for several years. In all the world's ocean, fish are getting smaller. Examples of fishes with decreasing size abound, from salmon in the Arctic to rays in the Atlantic. Studies reveal that between 1960 and 2020, sea fish body characteristics have been the most consistent pattern of reduction. The University of St. Andrews in the United Kingdom points out that there are two possible explanations. One, quite obvious, is fishing, and the second will be linked to the climate change. The research points out the impact that these changes may have on populations whose economy and main source of nutrition depends on fishing.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. For the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Colombia, the prosecutor's office rejected the request to nullify the trial against former President Álvaro Uribe, who is accused of witness bribery and procedural fraud, and ordered it to continue. The judge in charge of the hearing also determined that no appeal may be filed to overturn the decision, pointing out that this would be an obstruction to the administration of justice and abuse of the law. During the hearing, former President Uribe's defense attorney requested that Senator Iván Cepeda and 3 other former officials not be recognized as victims in the case. On the other hand, former President Uribe intervened in the hearing, denouncing that his process has had alleged legal loopholes. Venezuela and Turkey signed agreements to strengthen their bilateral relations. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil and his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan signed 9 agreements in key areas in the context of the nation's 4th Joint Commission. Agreements include sectors such as agriculture, health and medical sciences, civil aviation, protection of human rights and education. The 2 leaders also agreed to implement training programs in areas of the performing arts for cooperation in film production, television series and tourism. Also in Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro signed the Book of Condolences at the headquarters of the Iranian embassy in honor of President Ebrahim Raisi. The Venezuelan president ratified the solidarity and support of the Bolivarian nation to the Iranian people as he signed the Book of Condolences in honor of the Iranian martyrs. The head of state stressed that the Venezuelan people hope that the legacy of Ebrahim Raisi will be light and a guide for peace and well-being in Iran. Nicolás Maduro addressed the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and expressed his condolences and eternal solidarity and union in a moment of pain that the Iranian people are going through. He also stated that Venezuela and Iran will be always united.
in a level of deep integration, thinking about the common development of the people of Iran and the people of Venezuela. Two courageous peoples, two anti-imperialist peoples, two peoples that stand up, that show in practice what the deep dialogue of cultures, of civilizations, of religions is. That we are united in values, in struggles, in pains, and also in hope.
In this context, several authorities of the government of Cuba paid tribute to the President Ibrahim Raisi after his passing. The President of the National Assembly, together with other senior officials, signed the Book of Condolences opened at the residence of the Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Havana in memory of the Iranian President and other senior leaders of the fraternal nation. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Hezbollah resistance expressed its condolences to the Iranian people for the loss of President Ibrahim Raisi and his companions. Resistance Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah made a statement highlighting some of the work carried out by martyred President Ibrahim Raisi. Nasrallah also pointed out the diplomatic progress achieved by Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian in his 3 years at the helm of Iran's foreign ministry. The Hezbollah leader also noted that the loss of President Raisi and the people around him represents a loss for the axis of resistance in the Middle East and its struggle against Zionism.
Through this event, we are together with Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, with its leader, and with our leader, of course, leader of the nation for its people, for its government, its citizens, and each individual, and the worthy families of these great martyrs that we have lost in that incident. We express our feelings and our condolences for the loss. We understand what it means to lose figures like these. And we also declare our loyalty to those who have been with us in every moment and have never abandoned us.
The people of Iran accompanied the farewell ceremony of President Ibrahim Raisi at the shrine of Imam Reza in his native Mashhad on Thursday, May 23rd. Let's review the events.
Prior to the burial of the Iranian head of state in his hometown, thousands of citizens accompanied the coffin of President Ibrahim Raisi in the city of Birjan, together with members of the Iranian diplomatic corps and more than 90 regional and international delegations. The mobilization toured the city of Mashhad to bid farewell to the remains of the Iranian leader, which were later deposited in the mausoleum of Imam Reza. During the state funeral, Tehran hosted the ceremony to bid farewell to Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian at the Foreign Ministry headquarters, after which he was buried at the Abdol Asim al-Hassani shrine. Later, during the ceremony for the President and his companions, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei performed namaz prayers to bid farewell to the dead diplomats. The ceremony was held at the University of Tehran in front of the coffins of Raisi, the Iranian foreign minister, as well as the 6 dead in the accident. In turn, thousands of citizens participated in the funeral procession of Ayatollah Ali Hashem. In addition, thousands of citizens of Sanyan attended the funeral of Behruz Gadimi, crew member of President Raisi's helicopter, and Moshe Darianush, co-pilot of the helicopter. President Ibrahim Raisi, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, and other officials died on May 19 following a helicopter crash in a mountainous area of the eastern Azerbaijan province. After the incident, the authorities carried out high-range search operations, which were partially obstructed by the bad weather conditions. The rescue efforts relied on international support and maximum intelligence teams to locate the wreckage of the aircraft. Despite the death of high-ranking Iranian government officials, the people reiterated that Tehran will not change its policy and will continue the legacy of the leader under the framework of the Islamic Revolution.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected to teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Argentina, a new national strike at all levels of the educational system has started demanding the reopening of discussions over salaries, among other issues. Our correspondent Juan Carlos Bartolota from Buenos Aires has extended to us the following information.
The general strike was called by the unions of the primary, intermediate and university education sectors. The latter, in spite of the government's promises, is still awaiting definitions for the financing of university education.
It must be said that the conflict is far from over. It is necessary to solve the central budgetary problem of Argentina, which is the salary of teachers and non-teachers of the national universities. We have lost more than 50 points against inflation. We are the most punished sector in Argentina, and we believe that this is not a coincidence, but rather it responds to a political ideological festering that the president has with the public universities of Argentina, which have been and are a factor of critical discourse.
The teachers' claims have not ceased since the swearing-in of Javier Milei as president of the country, which is clearly shown by what is happening in Misiones, but also in other provinces that have been holding strikes for days.
We are in a national strike with a high level of compliance all over the country, even in the universities. We are demanding educational financing both for national universities and for the compulsory system, the reinstatement of the National Teachers Incentive Fund, and the increase of the compensation salary floor for teachers, the increase of the salary floor to compensate salary inequalities, which is very low, and it is 250,000 pesos.
In general, for teachers, the current situation is a regression to the 1990s, when the adjustment policies of former President Carlos Menem were imposed.
It is almost a déjà vu of what we already lived in the 90s, which is educational underinvestment, persecution of popular leaders, adjustment in education. So, in that sense, sad for us because it is a big setback. We had conquered many rights, and this is a big setback for Argentina and for Latin America. So we are standing up. We are the teachers, the professors, the university professors, the female professors fighting, the universities. Today, the whole educational system is on strike, from the initial level to the university. Total stop, a strike all over the country.
This is the first unified strike of the educational system since the inauguration of the government of Javier Milei. The main demand is salary and budgetary, with a demand for the convening of the National Teachers Meeting to discuss the minimum salary for the sector, together with the restitution of the National Teachers Incentive Fund.
Juan Carlos Bartolota, teleSUR, Argentina.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said he doesn't refuse to negotiate a peace agreement with Ukraine, but he would only do it with a legitimate government. The statement was made in Belarus on Friday during a meeting with that nation's President Alexander Lukashenko. The Russian leader said the peace talks should be based on common sense rather than ultimatums and with a legitimate Ukrainian government. Putin pointed out that according to Moscow, Vladimir Zelenski's legitimacy as president is over. In that sense, he had argued that the peace summit on Ukraine to be organized next month in Switzerland is a public relations stunt to legitimize the current regime in Kyiv.
We consider that the legitimacy of the current head of state has ended. I perceive from the fact that peace negotiations should be resumed, that they shouldn't be based on ultimatums, but rather on common sense. If it comes to this, we, of course, need to understand with whom we can and should deal in order to reach the signing of legally binding documents. Then we must be completely sure that we are dealing with legitimate authorities.
Meanwhile, the summit of ministers of the Group of Seven began in Italy to discuss financial issues. For 2 days, member countries are expected to evaluate the possibility of supporting Ukraine with the resources from confiscated Russian assets. The meeting is attended by finance ministers and central bank officials from the United Kingdom, France, the United States, Canada, Germany, Japan, and Italy. These nations provide technical and military assistance to Kyiv while promoting more sanctions against Russia. The world of music remembers on Friday the first anniversary of the death of the exceptional singer Tina Turner. Anna Mae Bullock, better known as Tina Turner, began her musical career in the mid-1950s under the name Little Ann. Her debut as Tina Turner was with the single A Fool in Love in 1960. As a solo artist, her 1984 album Private Dancer launched her to stardom. Songs such as What's Love Got to Do with It, Let's Stay Together, We Don't Need Another Hero, and The Best consolidated her career. Her life was made into a movie in 1993's What's Love Got to Do with It. She was recognized for her energetic live performances, her outlasting outfits, her powerful voice, and her long career, during which she won 8 Grammy Awards. We have come to the end of this news brief, but before, let's listen to fragments from the performance of the Queen of Rock and Roll at a concert at Wembley on 2000s. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us as well on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. Thank you for watching.